Well, I'm super excited to introduce Tarry Shebesta as our guest expert for this webinar on the F&I process. Terry is an entrepreneur, a dynamic entrepreneur with over 30 years of experience in the automotive digital arena. In 1989, Terry opened Automobile Consumer Services, and that has been a trailblazer in technologies across the automotive digital space and power sport space, and we've used it with our marine dealers for rolling into the RVs. But it got super exciting in 2010 when Terry introduced uh, a get pre-qualified technology in cooperation with TransUnion that allowed consumers and lenders to provide a soft pull, full credit file bureau to instantly pre-qualify the shoppers, and they didn't have to give up their social security number or date of birth, and there was no impact on their credit score. That was a game changer. And then he changed the game again when he initiated and invented the shop by payment technology, which allows a shopper, a consumer, on the website to identify what their ideal payment is and have the soft credit pull so that now automatically the dealer can tell what that customer is looking for, what they qualify for, and it's super powerful. And then just this year, ACS established truPayments, which is a financial technology company. So Terry's been an expert on live TV shows, including CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg TV. He's a media consultant for Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Forbes, and others. Super knowledgeable guy. I'm really excited to have him give us a few minutes of his expertise today. So Terry, thanks very, very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Merrill. I really appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
we're chatting.
So let me start with this, this is going to be, I think, right up your alley. In our first webinar in this series, I was talking to John Heyman, who's a SVP at Medallion Bank, and he's president of the National Marine Lenders Association. And I asked him about what he saw as some of the most important things dealers could do to ensure a good experience for their customers. And he went right into one of the most important things dealers need to do is from the outset, make sure that they're getting their customers into the unit that they can get. He said it doesn't do anybody any good to have someone fall in love with an $80,000 unit when they're only qualified for $35,000. So I'd like your just reaction to that and talk a little about all the things you do that help us kind of solve that problem.
Right. Wow. That statement is absolutely 100% right on. And we see that in the industry. And I'll give you a personal example of that exact scenario. So as a leasing company, which we are, which is how we developed all this software, we actually built it for ourselves first, but we would all the time get customers excited on a particular vehicle they wanted to buy. Give you an example, Corvette. Guy would do all the research and looking around, found the perfect vet and was like all excited. And then when he would apply, couldn't get him done, couldn't get him approved. And right to your point, he should have been looking probably at a Camaro, not a Corvette. But he was all in on the Corvette. So setting that expectation up front is absolutely critical, because once we couldn't approve him for the Corvette, we lost him. He went on and because he was embarrassed or whatever, right? Mad, embarrassed, whatever the reason was, but we weren't going to get that deal. So he went on and bought, I don't know what he got. I'm sure he didn't get the Corvette, but that's the reason it's absolutely imperative to make sure we're setting that exact expectation. And with the shop by payment technology that you referenced earlier, that's what brings it all together, right? Most consumers, most shoppers these days are looking at what can I buy for my budget? Okay, that's the most important question. Yeah, you get those that are on a particular unit or whatever, but in most cases, it's look, I either want to buy a boat or a motorcycle or a car or an RV, and I know what my budget is and what I can spend, and I want to know everything I can buy. Oh, and I need, certain, I want an SUV or I want this or that. I need bunk beds or this, whatever it is. You want to be able to say, okay, well, this is what you want. Now we're going to take those preferences, your what you want to spend a month, what type of vehicle, and we're going to take your credit under a soft pull. So we're not going to affect your credit score. And we're going to take all the inventory that matches that criteria and all of the finance programs, lease programs, everything that would be available that matches your credit. And we're going to churn all that together and instantly spit out a list of inventory that meets that criteria. That is what really sets that customer up for success and a great experience at the dealership level.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can testify that it definitely works and definitely helps. So when we're offering your solutions to some of our dealers, they generally will have 2 or 3 questions. So I've already said this, and you've said it, but just to reinforce it. So for sure, there is no impact on that customer's credit by doing this soft pull solution. And so then the next question is, well, just how accurate is it? And then some of the times they'll say, well, can we do this 100% of the time with 100% of the customers?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's take that, break it down a little bit. So once we're able to do the soft pull, and we get it about 90% of the time now. We have a new platform we've created, Grail, called Grail, and we've added some additional UX, UI, where it makes it easier for the customer to enter their information, especially on mobile device. It's mobile first, because that's where everybody, I look at a lot of our reporting, and weekends and evenings, 90% of all of that traffic and lead volume come from mobile. So, but back to the ease of use. With the new platform, we're able to get a better match, because once we get the customer's name and we have their location because of the phone, we can pretty much help them figure out and enter their address completion, auto completion, right? So that, because in order to get that soft pull, the name and the address have to match exactly. So that's actually giving us a better hit ratio on making sure we get that credit information. And it does not affect their credit. It's a soft pull. We actually created that with TransUnion, I think you said back in 2010. It's 30 years now, and I have to do all this math with dates, and it's like, oh my gosh, and now we're in a new one. It's like, whoa. But yes, the soft pull credit with a full file bureau. And that's really important, because as soon as you hit a hard pull, that can start a trigger lead to a competitor. So we want to eliminate our competitors knowing that we're working a deal. So that it actually enables you to work a deal in stealth mode, meaning that nobody else is going to know you're working that customer. And to give you an example, when you apply for a mortgage, all of a sudden, everybody knows you're looking for a mortgage, right? You get these letters and all this stuff. Well, that's a trigger lead. And that's a prime example of what we want to avoid when we're working a customer. So I think those two things are the keys around the way we do it. And versus and there are different soft pull attributes out there where credit bureaus are offering certain things, but we're the only ones that are getting a full file under a credit under a soft pull, which is you have to have that information, especially RV Marine. You really got to dig into the bureau, not just a credit score.
Right. And is this still exclusively through TransUnion?
No, actually, what's interesting is we started it with TransUnion, then Experian came on board, and just recently Equifax is starting to play with us on that too. So I think now we have all three bureaus we can use.
Very nice. Very nice. So is this strictly a web-based tool, or is there a way to apply this technology to a walk-in customer who has not done any real pre-shopping or anything?
Yeah, matter of fact, many of our dealers, especially after we do the training with them, we show them that it's not just on their website that they can use this technology. It's on the showroom floor. Especially, think about the RVs. Just use that for an example. Acres and acres and acres of RVs, right? Customer comes in and says, look, I'm looking to buy whatever, right? Okay, well, now we've got to figure out how are we going to get them around the lot to do a walkthrough on all these units. Whereas if we start it with the app, and a lot of our dealers will use iPads on the showroom floor and start working with the customer. So not only does it help us get them narrow down to the right unit, again, not showing them something that they can't afford to buy or that they're not interested in, but while they're there, quickly get them on the right unit. And it also, because we're not asking for a social and date of birth to get this information, and we're going to show them immediate results, they're more apt to give you their name and information, the name and address, phone number, email, and that sort of thing, while they're there on the lot. They're not going to be like so standoffish, because just for a little bit of information, you're going to give them and show them what they can buy and quickly get them on the lot or to that specific unit. So very important that it can be used, in the showroom. Marketing is another aspect of that. We see dealers doing a lot of Facebook marketing with Shop by Payment. Again, it's about getting those customers. They may not have been thinking about buying a car, motorcycle, an RV, or a boat. Didn't cross their mind. But here comes an ad that shows up that says, hey, see what RVs you can buy for your particular budget. Okay, well, I'm kind of curious, right? I may not be in the market, but now all of a sudden, I start engaging with the Shop by Payment, and then find out that, wow, look what we could get for a budget. It's like, it's a wow factor, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. So one of the things that we've seen, especially this year, there were a lot of first-time boat buyers coming in. And boats are just priced differently than cars, but they have no experience in the boat pricing. So if someone says, I'd like to be making a payment of $200 a month, but as a practical matter, they can't get anything for less than $300 a month, how does your solution help show them what's really available, what they really can do?
Right. So if they want to be at 200 and there's nothing there, we'll show them the next lowest payment in the list of vehicles, and then they can scroll up and down. Same thing if they want it to be at 300, and we start them showing them vehicles at 300, but then they can scroll up or down to see lower payment vehicles or higher payment vehicles. But it also sets the realistic expectation so that they're not wasting everybody's time, right? I mean, if really their budget is only 200 and that's where they want to be, and we don't have anything for them, then it's either money down, which we can show them that, or maybe they're just not a customer. I always hate to say they're not a customer, but here's the great thing: we at least have their information. Okay, so maybe they didn't find. Maybe we collected the lead, and it showed they were looking for a boat or whatever at 200, and they couldn't find something. At least we know when we call them that we know what they were looking for. We will have their credit, and maybe there is something we have or we can look at to try to change or to funnel that conversation with them, either money down or you might have to bump up a little bit, but again, you have something to talk about up front before you even call them, and you create a plan, a strategy of how you're going to address that customer, that lead.
So basically, what your solution lets people do is kind of put an arrow in the target at where they want to be, but they can see the rings around that, so that they see what their options are, and if they can't get where they want to be, they can at least see what's available, up or down.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, by the way. I'm gonna have to take that. That's a great analogy. It really is. There's my target, and here's the out rings that show me, what's close to that.
Right. Okay. So the overarching topic for today's webinar is just the overall F&I process, and even more broadly than that, because I know you have so much experience in dealerships and in the stores. What do you see as potentially some of the best practices, but even more significantly, what do you see as some of the worst practices, and what would you offer by way of corrective action for some of those?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because there's a lot of people out there saying a lot of things that are not necessarily accurate, especially when you start talking to dealers. So F&I products, I know there's a lot of talk about, oh yeah, you've got to have the F&I products listed because people are buying them. Well, they're actually, right now they're not online, right? You still need that person that can work the deal and sell F&I products. That is the bottom line. You just throwing things on the website, hoping that somebody buys it, that's not the answer. It's not happening. So dealerships that have good F&I people is still relevant and necessary for conversion right now. It's absolutely, you've got to have somebody that's knowledgeable about the products that you're offering, that can explain it to the customer, and it's got to be somebody dedicated to that. It can't be just oh, hey, by the way, we have this. With your company, you see this day in and day out. You got to have that expertise to help that customer and guide them into the right product. Okay, and that's just the way we are right now. It's not something that's being automated. You still got to have the people to do it, for sure.
So that, from that perspective, and without naming names, some of these exclusively online ways that you can now buy cars and never talk to a salesperson, they do list the warranty products and other things like that, but based on this, the odds are they're going to be fairly unsuccessful at their penetration rates on those products.
Yeah, ask any dealership. What's the penetration rate on digital retailing F&I products? And it's basically almost nothing. And we have dealers that don't even want to show it. they are much more comfortable at, the minimal or the most you might want to do is just mention it, maybe have some information about it. And that's what we're experimenting with now. So that when you do have the conversation, at least the customer's heard about it. Maybe they've done some research and read about it. But really, it's a matter of talking to that customer on one-on-one, really. That's where we are right now.
No, absolutely, and I agree with that. And one of the things that we have taken up doing is making sure that every customer that we talk to ends up actually signing the optional protected product disclosure that says, here's what I've seen, here's the ones I took, here's the ones I declined, and sign that so that process has been complete every time.
Yeah, important, very important, because you want to be consistent, right? You want to have a consistent experience across all of the customers that you talk to.
Absolutely. And from a dealer perspective, there's also a little self-protective element in there as well.
Yes.
Because that customer who didn't get offered a particular warranty and finds out from a friend of theirs that, gosh, this expensive repair could have been covered.
Yeah.
When they show up at that dealership again, that's bad news.
That's bad. That's very bad, right? Yep. Consistent all the time. Yeah.
Yep. Well, this has been really helpful and really useful. I think my experience is that, especially in the RV and the marine space, a lot of the dealers are pretty grossly uninformed about what's available from you in terms of the shop by payment and to get pre-qualified. And our experience is they're missing out on a great opportunity by not having that.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I think you're right. And it's been proven to be right. And the dealers that have it love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, again, this has been very, very informative, very helpful. And again, I really appreciate your time, and thanks very much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much, Merle. I'm going to get in the front of my RV here and head out.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Okay, Merle. Thank you.